All right. Speaking of Guess the Program and all that other stuff, before we go today, we did Guess the Program the other day, and I got the place right on numerous of them, but I missed every single year, and I have asked you for a rematch. I want to go 2 out of 3 here to see if today I can get 2 out of 3 years correct on these fucking things. And I guess now you're to further fuck with me, you're probably going to give me some kind of really exotic, unheard of, off-brand kind of stuff, but I'm going to try this here today.
I don't think today will be easy for you, my friend. I think today's going to be a rough one. Of course, Guess the Program. I go through programs in my collection, and I quiz Jim on them. He guesses, to the best of his ability, the territory, the building, the location, the date, the timekeeper, and the ring announcer. Jim,
Joe McHugh.
Jim, this first one here. The opening bout, Dandy Donovan versus Pretty Pat Patterson.
Okay, that would be Dandy Jack Donovan and Pretty Pat Patterson. An interesting opening match between what I assume from the time period of this would be 2 heels mostly, but we will see what happens. Go ahead.
The second preliminary, and by the way, both matches in the preliminaries, one fall, 15-minute time limit. Stan Stasiak versus Patty Barrett. We have a special tag team event. 2 out of 3 falls, 45-minute time limit. Bob Boyer and Chief White Wolf versus Louis Tillett and Gene Tillett. Or Tillett, depending on how you like to pronounce it. Everyone has a different way.
Gene Tillett. That's interesting.
A special event. 1 fall to a finish. No TV. Baby Cheryl versus Doll Page.
No TV on that one. It's going to be too wild, folks. All right, go ahead.
And finally, the main event. 2 out of 3 falls, 90-minute time limit for the World's Heavyweight Championship. Louis Thez, the world's champion, versus Dr. Big Bill Miller.
Boy, howdy. Okay, where do we start here?
I warned you this is going to be a tough one.
Dandy Jack Donovan was a bleached blonde Southern heel. At one point, his wife, Vern Bottoms, and
That's
boy,
right.
she had one, was his manager.
She wrestled too.
Dandy Jack Donovan was the one that got in the shoot fight with Tojo in Louisville, and they beat him up in the Jerry Jarrett, Jackie Fargo, and Tojo beat him up in the TV studio in Nashville the next day before they didn't have to fire him. He left the territory. But in the opening match against Pat Patterson, Donovan was, not always used as a major star, but this would be early in Pat's career. And Pretty Pat Patterson was one of his very early gimmicks. Stan Stasiak at this time would have been an early in his career journeyman type of heel. He would later on be the transitional champion for the WWF in between Pedro and Bruno. He's wrestling Patty Barrett, is Irish Pat Barrett, who had runs in a variety of places, was a tag team champion in the WWF, but was big for Leroy McGurk as a single in the 70s. Louis Tillett was obviously behind the scenes. He was known as a great booker for some of the Southern territories. He was a wrestler. Also, Gene Tillett. Is this one of those Rocket Flash Monroe type of things? Would that have been Gene Dundee?
There's a picture of him here, but I don't know, so I can't comment one way or the other.
I don't know who Gene Tillett would have been. Chief White Wolf. This puts it in the 60s anyway, or for reasons of the main event that we're going to talk about. And Bob Boyer would later on become Bobby Bold Eagle and have a Indian gimmick, but he was Italian as Bob Boyer. The no TV match, Baby Cheryl and Doll Page, they're female midgets. Baby Cheryl and Honey Girl Page was her name in the 70s, but I think Doll Page was her first working name. And obviously, 2 out of 3 falls, 90 minutes for the world heavyweight title, Thesz versus Dr. Big Bill Miller. That puts this in between 1963 and 1966 because of Thesz's last NWA world title reign. And Bill Miller was a big, no pun intended, a big name in the Midwest, Ohio, Michigan, sometimes toward the Northeast at that point in time, and was a world title contender. And he was a doctor because he was a licensed veterinarian, and he was from Columbus, Ohio. And God damn it. At first, I was thinking, well, Pat Patterson, early territories, where would he and Donovan have been? The Indians and the Indians and Bill Miller makes me think it might be Ohio, and it wouldn't be out of the way for Thesz to be defending there. But at the same time, I don't remember Patterson or Donovan. Or is it Pittsburgh? Or am I way off? Could it be? It wouldn't be Indianapolis. Oh, God damn it. Columbus, Ohio, 1965.
The date, Monday evening, October 14th, 1963, the Northside Coliseum, Fort Worth, Texas.
Fort Worth, Texas. Son of a bitch. Pat Patterson in the opening match in the Texas territory in 1963.
I'll read you what it says about that match in a moment, but considering what he thought of things, what do you think Lou Thesz thought about having his match with Dr. Big Bill Miller right after the one fall?
Right after the
OTV women's midget match.
Female midgets, yeah. Probably was not one of his nights he'd like to remember. So Honey Girl Page, I saw her 12 years later. She looked like just a young thing. But I'd love to know who Jean Tillett was at that point. But yeah, okay. So I'm trying to get the years right, and at least before I was getting the locations, I got both of these wrong. All right.
Dandy Jack faces Pretty Patterson in the second of 2 preliminary bouts next Monday night at the Northside Coliseum. Dandy Jack Donovan will take a fling at Pretty Pat Patterson, and this one should be a dandy. Pretty Pat is after prestige, and he figures that a good way to get it is to defeat the likes of Donovan. The dainty Boston grappler with the mink jacket, the dark glasses, and the beret, not to mention the long cigarette holder, is a lot tougher than he appears to be when adorned with all the trappings of and then it says a question mark in parentheses, dandy. But Pretty Pat may also find out that Dandy Jack is tougher than he expects. The odds are he will find Donovan plenty rough. So there we go, Texas. This next one, Jim, should I be easy on you?
Oh, now you don't have to, once again, you don't have to just torture me, but you don't have to give me a gimme either.
The opening contest, 1 fall, 15-minute time limit. Vic Christie versus George Hagen.
Lord.
The second contest, 1 fall, 15-minute time limit. Pete Shue versus Glenn Wade.
And by the way, there's an old timer, I've been seeing his name more often, and his last name was Atchu. So his his nickname was Sneeze, Walter Sneeze Atchu. Go ahead.
The next contest, 1 fall, 30-minute time limit. Sammy Stein versus Teddy Tiny Roebuck. The next contest, best 2 out of 3 falls, Gus Sonnenberg versus Hal Rumberg. And finally, the final contest, best 2 out of 3 falls, Jim Browning versus Ed Strangler Lewis.
You son of a bitch. All right. Well, Vic Christie was brothers with Ted Christie, the Christie brothers, and their heyday was probably late 40s, 50s, but this was earlier than that. I have no idea who the second match was. Sam Stein and Tiny Roebuck, again, old timers. Gus Sonnenberg was the fucking world champion in what, 1937? No, it was before that. He was involved in one of the double crosses. I have no idea who his opponent was. And Jim Browning and Ed Lewis, again, two of the top stars of the 30s. Well, Strangler Lewis, one of the top stars of all time. But this, when you said Vic Christie, my first thought was to go to California because they were, both brothers worked out there quite a bit and were over, but that was in the 40s, and this can't be that late with Browning, Sonnenberg, and Lewis on the card. Again, there's no way to determine with any certainty a location here. So I'm going to say somewhere in the... No, God damn it. Are you fucking with me? Could this be one of the later New York shows before they left the Garden? Or is this 1939 in California?
Any place? It's a big state. Any place in specific?
Well, God, it wasn't as big back then. The Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles.
All right. Well, the location, the Olympic Auditorium.
Son of a bitch.
Lou Darrow presents wrestling. John J.
Carnation. That's Carnation Lou Darrow to you.
John J. Doyle, Lee C. And here is, this is from the Olympic. And what's interesting, I just added this to my collection. It's a card that was folded up. And it was in an envelope. It's post-dated Beverly Hills, California, June 8th, 1933, 3 p.m. To someone named Harry Heidel. And it's a letter from his friend. He does not attach a name. But at the very end here, went to a wrestling show last night with a bunch. You should see the crowd. Over 10,000 people were there. Show the enclosed program to Irvin.
Well, so I got the place again, and I was still way off on the year, but 10,000 people in the Olympic Auditorium in the middle of the Great Depression.
Well, again, as reported by Harry or Harry's friend to tell to Irving, so I don't know.
Well, but goddamn it wasn't 2,000.
All right, you ready for this next one?
I guess.
You're doing good.
Yeah, you're doing good.
The first bout, Wayne Martin versus Billy Rayburn. A special added attraction, Tuffy Truesdale. Oh, by the way, this is one fall, no time limit. Tuffy Truesdale versus a 388-pound alligator. A tag team bout, Wild Bill Longson and Ali Pasha versus Ray Eckert and Frank Taylor, 2 out of 3 falls, 90-minute time limit. And finally, the other half of the double main event, 2 out of 3 falls, 90-minute time limit, Angelo Savaldi versus Johnny Balbo.
All right. Wayne Martin, I remember that name for some reason, and that's about it. Tuffy Truesdale wrestling the alligator. That was Tuffy Truesdale was a wrestler that worked preliminaries in a variety of places for years, but he trained bears and alligators. And he either at various points had a wrestling alligator or a wrestling bear. Wild Bill Longson and Ray Eckert being in the tag team match puts us definitely, I think, in the 1940s. And did this come from the Ray Eckert estate collection? I've got some programs that he had, and then
It may
a
have.
mutual friend of ours, I won't mention his name, sent me a couple of scrapbooks that he made of clippings and etc. But there's a lot of stuff going around from Ray Eckert's collection, old Memphis programs, of which I'm wondering if this might be one of them, because they didn't have wrestling alligators in St. Louis. Ali Pasha doesn't tell me much, and Angelo Savoldi and Johnny Balbo. Balbo should tell me something, but I'm slipping in my old age. God damn it. Would this be in 1952 somewhere in Oklahoma or Missouri?
The date, Monday night, April 16th, 1951.
Ugh!
Memphis, Tennessee. You had it.
Memphis, son of a bitch. I should have known. I should have known to go with my first thought, but I'm like, no, it doesn't seem like a Memphis card, but this was early in the 50s before the Nashville booking office took over, and talent mostly came out of the St. Louis office besides the Alligators.
That's right.
All
right, give me a moment.
Well, I didn't get 2 out of 3, but can I get 1?
Well, I'll give you one more. I'm trying to, I got a stack of programs here. I'm trying to find the right one.
Trying to make me either look worse than I already do or not look as bad as I have been.
No, I'm trying to make you look good. I want you to look good. This is your show. This is your show. Don't forget that.
Yeah. I put all the blame on me.
All right, hold on. I think it may be over here. There we go. All right. This is an interesting card. This is a flyer for the card. This is not the actual program.
All right.
The opening bout, Mr. Wrestling 2 versus Les Thornton.
Ooh.
Bout 2, Tiger Conway Jr. versus Playboy Buddy Rose. Ivan Putski versus Terry Gibbs. In a ladies match, Wendy Richter versus Judy Martin. For a title I won't name, Greg Valentine versus Tito Santana. And the main event, Andre the Giant and Blackjack Mulligan versus Big John Studd and Ken Patera.
All righty. So I guess I can't complain because this is not as obscure as the stuff from back in the Stone Age, but this is obviously a WWF event, and it's obviously right after the expansion started. Wrestling 2 was there briefly, as was Les Thornton, when Vince, after Black Saturday, he absorbed the Georgia office. They're 2 of the only guys that went. Tiger Conway Jr., I didn't remember him being there, and Buddy Rose not at that period of time. So I'm wondering if that has something to do with them potentially living in the area. Putski and Terry Gibbs. Terry Gibbs was, oh goddamn, he had a thing going on with at one point with he was a military man. What was the deal going on there?
I don't know.
Terry Gibbs was one of the privates for Slaughter, wasn't he?
Terry Daniels.
You're not going to give me anything, huh?
Terry Daniels, what you're talking about.
Terry Daniels, not Terry Gibbs. I'm sorry. Okay, different guy. Wendy Richter and Judy Martin. Greg Valentine and Tito would be for the Intercontinental title. And Andre and Blackjack Studd and Patera. So it's a WWF show. It has to be either 1984 or 1985. And with Andre and Blackjack Studd and Patera, could this, with Wrestling 2 and Thornton on the show, would it be in the Omni? Because he was trying to appeal to some of those fans. With Tiger Conway, I'm wondering, is it Dallas? Or with Buddy Rose, is it Portland? Let's go with the Omni in Atlanta, and it's very late in 1984.
Ooh, I'm going to give you that one. December 8th. I can't even say it. Friday, December 28th, 1984,
Aha!
the World Wrestling Federation makes its debut in the Big D State Fair Coliseum, Dallas, Texas.
Ah, all right.
What do you think of this show being the WWF debut in Dallas?
Well, it appears to me that they just had to fill a place in betwixt and between and knew that they weren't going to do that well. Because they didn't do that well in their initial forays into the world-class territory, the Mid-South territory, or Tennessee, or the Carolinas. They did do well in Louisville, surprisingly, but not in Memphis.
Well, I have here, this is part of the, this is almost like a split from the files. This is part of the Eloise Mascara file. Is that how you pronounce her last name?
Mascoro, I believe it was.
Excuse me.
She was going back to I don't know how long she went back with Dallas Wrestling, but in the 70s, she was the biggest Von Erich fan in the world and was still a lady in her 60s at that point.
The WWF made it to Dallas finally last Friday, the 28th of December, holding their matches at the State Fair of Texas Coliseum, where the horse shows are held. In the write-up on Saturday, the 29th, the Dallas Morning News, it stated about 2,000 watched the WWF's first program. 7 events were listed. The main event, Andre the Giant Blackjack Mulligan defeated Ken Patera and Bobby Heenan. In the TV announcements from WWF prior to the date, it was announced that John Studd and Patera would meet Andre and Mulligan. Also, women's champion Wendy Richter would meet Judy Martin for the title, but the paper listed Fabulous Moolah pinned Judy Martin. Greg Valentine won versus Tito Santana by DQ because Santana slugged the referee. The write-up also mentioned Johnny Valentine attended to watch his son Greg. I only know of one family that are regulars at the Sportatorium who attended. They promised to bring me a program if they had them to sell. The WWF show that I watched Saturday said they would be coming back to Dallas on Thursday, the 17th of January.
Wow.
Our crowd Friday night was near a full house, and the weather was far from good. Excuse me. She writes in a cursive here. Not cold, but rainy and muddy. we do need some sunshine very badly. There is no way I can manage going to watch wrestling cards from a financial standpoint. Is that what she said? There is no way I can manage going to watch wrestling cards from a financial standpoint. I still miss going to Fort Worth. I don't know what the next word is. I still miss going to Fort Worth Monday night for the card, but I must have within my income. Again, I may be missing something.
And she was an older lady at this point, but I think she always went to the matches in Fort Worth on Monday nights. That was her regular thing. And then she obviously would go to the Sportatorium in the heyday, but I think as she retired and got older, she had to watch out the money she was spending, the trips she was making. But now here's the thing. This was December, 28th, 1984?
That's exactly right.
Do you know another reason why they only had 2,000 people? That was 3 days after the Star Wars Christmas Night Reunion Arena show.
I have that right.
That was
here. I have the headline.
Our debut in Dallas. We did $188,000 and 18,000 people.
I have right here the full page newspaper, the Dallas Morning News, Wednesday, December 26, 1984. On the front here is Star Wars. Flair keeps world title on DQ. When is a winner not a winner? Kerry Von Erich knows. Tuesday night at Reunion Arena, in the Star Wars, Von Erich defeated world champion Ric Flair. But Flair, the 33-year-old champion of the National Wrestling Alliance, is still the champion. However, NWA officials in attendance said Flair has abused the disqualification rule and that Von Erich will get another shot at the title. The match will take place in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in the next 2 weeks, and the disqualification rule will be waived. Flair has a move to counter any wrestling hold 18 minutes and 20 seconds into the title match, he came up with a beaut for the Iron Claw, a hold that has made the Von Erich wrestling clan successful. Flair, his forehead bloodied, threw Von Erich over the top rope, while Von Erich had the claw on Flair's skull. The result was a disqualification, which ensures the champion will remain the champion. The world belt cannot exchange hands on a disqualification. Here's a quote from Kerry Von Erich. "I felt ready to go, and I was strong out there tonight. When I took that spill over the ropes, it really hurt. It was an uncoordinated type of fall that I couldn't break with my hands. I'm just glad I'm going to get another shot at the title, that's for sure. I've only known the NWA to waive the disqualification rule on 2 instances in a world match." That's what it says, in a world match. The first was when I won the title, and this will be the second. The outcome was an especially bitter pill for Von Erich to swallow. Von Erich had... Oh, God, that's a bad...
Oh my God.
Von Erich had pinned Flair for the required 3 count, but referee David Manning hadn't noticed Flair's leg on the top of the rope until after the count. The match, already 14 minutes long, continued. Here's more from Kerry. "There's a mental letdown after that occurs. When you hear that 3 count on the mat, the first thing you do is check to see if everything is okay. I didn't see his foot on the rope until after the 3rd count. I guess we'll find out on the videotape." 1 minute later, Von Erich applied the claw for the first time. Flair hurled Von Erich into the turnbuckle. However, 3 minutes later, Von Erich came back with the claw before Flair disqualified himself. Von Erich dominated the first 8 minutes of the match before Flair seized an opportunity on the ropes. The battle went back and forth from there, with each wrestler gaining 3 2 counts on pin attempts. This is amazing the way the newspaper is writing about this fucking match.
Yeah, well, they gave them the details and they went with it because wrestling was so over at that point. But think about this. Also, when I popped when they said the WWF was coming back on January 17th, this is a town, Fritz was running Dallas at the Sportatorium every Friday night, seated 5,000 people. And in that era, we were filling it up more often than not. And then every Monday night in Fort Worth at the Will Rogers Coliseum, plus the Thanksgiving Star Wars at Reunion Arena, the Christmas Star Wars at Reunion Arena, and the end of January 1985 was going to be the special show at the Tarrant County Convention Center in Fort Worth, which was another 10, 12,000 seat building. And the WWF's trying to come in and run the Fair Park Coliseum and get into, no wonder they couldn't draw. World Class was still hot and they were all over the fucking market.
Let me finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
This article here from the paper, by the way, this is by Stan Hoveder Jr., photos by William Snyder. In another main event, Kevin Von Erich came off the mat twice, once after a pile driver, defeating Gentleman Chris Adams in a lumberjack match, in which other wrestlers on the card gathered around the ring, making sure neither wrestler left the ring. Von Erich, who had split with Adams in 2 previous matches, was pinned twice for a 2 count before bucking his way out of Adams' pin. Following the pile driver, which had Adams turning Von Erich upside down and dropping him on his head, Adams paraded around the ring before going to the turnbuckle. Adams' attempt to jump off the turnbuckle was thwarted when Von Erich dashed off the mat, grabbed Adams, and threw him into the rope. Both men fell to the floor, and Von Erich covered Adams for the pinfall at the 5-minute mark. Here's a quote from Kevin. "Hey, don't sell old Kev short." Nah, I shouldn't do the voice. "Don't sell old Kev short. It didn't hurt me that bad. He held me in the air too long, and I shifted my weight to make the impact a glancing blow." That's a hell of a way to describe not getting killed by a pile driver. But man, that kind of coverage. And by the way, I guess I'll read the results real quick because you're on it. Jose Lothario defeated El Diablo. Rip Oliver defeated Iceman King Parsons. Kelly Kiniski defeated Buck Zumhoff. Mike Von Erich and Billy Jack defeated Gino Hernandez and Jake the Snake. For the American Tag Team Championship, the Fantastics defeated the Midnight Express, 13 minutes, 10 seconds. Lumberjack match, Kevin defeated Chris Adams, 5 minutes, 5-minute lumberjack match. And finally, for the NWA World title, Kerry Von Erich defeated Ric Flair via disqualification.
And there you have it. And have you had enough yet?
Oh, I mean, you're doing so well. I have more programs here if you want to keep going.
That's all right. I think I've been drubbed enough for one day.
I got one here with a Lincoln in it, I think.
Well, just make sure it was at Ford's Theater. I know how that one came out. I know the finish.